So seeing Kyler on the field, in their offense, in their scheme, working with the coaches, in games.
Him coming back, it's a cool point.
I'm not a medical professional at all, but I will say he looks very good.
Oh boy, it's accountability time for your boy here, because it seems like Kyler Murray is returning significantly earlier than I thought he would, and this completely contradicts my original take on him. So we're gonna dive into this because it's very dense. I have a couple of theories as to why he's doing this. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, break! Ladies and gentlemen, every time PrizePicks has done this, it's practically been free money for us. For the opening weeks of the NFL season, we've had a lot of success on PrizePicks. I've been showing you guys my picks on Instagram, and I post my picks there for free consistently at The Flight Mike. And typically, you need to at least make 2 correct picks in order to make money. But in this case, PrizePicks is giving us a free Steph Curry square. Steph Curry only needs 1 point in order for his square to convert. So we just need to get 1 pick right at minimum to make money here. So if you're an NFL fan, I'm looking at Tyreek Hill scoring a touchdown versus the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you're an NBA fan, I'm looking at Michael Porter Jr. to grab more than 5.5 rebounds. Make sure you use my promo code Mikerophone to get a $100 deposit match when you sign up at PrizePicks. This is easily my favorite promo of the year. We've had a lot of success with it in the past. I'm going to show you additional picks on my Instagram story. And thank you, PrizePicks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? If you remember, a few months ago, I said that the Arizona Cardinals are destined for failure. And if you take a look at the moves that they made up until this point, it seemed like this was a team that was headed towards a rebuild. I mean, they moved on from Cliff Kingsbury, a guy that said this about Kyler Murray.
Kyler is, he's a freak, man. Purdy's a really good young player, and he's going to be a tremendous player, but Kyler is a freak, and I've followed him since he was a sophomore.
And they brought in this guy instead.
Hey! What's up, man? How you doing? Good. Good. Shoo, 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 shoo. Shots. Explosives. You can run.
This is the man that beat my Dallas Cowboys. That aside, they made some pretty interesting decisions. They traded Isaiah Simmons, who was one of their top picks, over CeeDee Lamb, which is a player that Kyler Murray wanted during that draft, for a 7th round pick. They essentially compiled a bunch of pieces so they could trade for Josh Dobbs, who, by the way, has kept them in games at least so far, and they have multiple picks in this year's NFL draft. A draft that is becoming one of the most overhyped NFL drafts that I've ever seen since 2021. No, seriously. How many times have you seen a report like top 10 QB prospects over the past 10 years? Caleb Williams 2024, then Trevor Lawrence in 2021, then Joe Burrow in 2020, then Drake May in 2024? Baker Mayfield's on this list over Kyler Murray? Jokes aside, respectfully, I am all for NFL draft overhype. I can never get sick of hearing X is the greatest NFL prospect since Patrick Mahomes. In this particular instance, I felt like the Cardinals had their hands tied. You see, about 2 months ago, I tweeted out something that I am getting flamed for mercilessly, where Ian Rappaport said that the Arizona Cardinals will keep Kyler Murray on the PUP list to begin the season as he continues to recover from an ACL injury that he suffered late last season. He'll be out at least the first 4 games, which is not a surprise. You see, Kyler Murray tore his ACL in week 14 of last year's NFL season. Typically, torn ACLs have a 1-year recovery time, but it could be accelerated quite a bit, especially if you do rigorous rehabilitation. And honestly, I love what I'm seeing from modern medicine. Regardless, as a result of this, my theory was that since the Arizona Cardinals aren't going to be competitive, and since Kyler Murray probably won't be able to return until like early December, and by then the Arizona Cardinals would have virtually no chance of making it to the playoffs, then the Cardinals wouldn't want to risk further injury to Kyler Murray. And I tweeted as such. He's not playing this year. Bookmarked this tweet and come back to it in January. And oh boy, did Cardinals fans come back to it now. I am getting roasted in each and every direction. My favorite one being,
people like this have a platform.
of course, we have a guy that's calling me a clown for not being able to predict that Kyler Murray would accelerate his recovery to this extent. And pretty much Cardinals fans are all shellacking me. With that being said, Kyler Murray has returned returned to Cardinals practice way earlier than I thought. And to be honest, he looks pretty freaking good. This is what his left tackle DJ Humphries currently says about him.
I'm definitely not a medical professional at all. Even though some people call me doctor, I'm not a medical professional at all. But I will say he looks very good, and I don't really see any hitches or anything like that. So that's always promising for somebody coming off something so traumatic and serious as he did.
And luckily for us, we have footage to actually see how good he looks in practice. And I have to admit, he does look good in practice. The question is, and this is what I was curious about, why are we rushing Kyler Murray back to begin with? Because if you currently look at the NFC West standings, it's not looking that great for the Arizona Cardinals. They are currently 1-5, and they're at the very bottom of the NFC West. They have a higher chance at getting Caleb Williams than they do at making the wild card. Although making the wild card isn't unreasonable, it'll just take a Herculean effort to get there. Well, according to Ian Rappaport, a huge reason why the Cardinals want to bring back Kyler Murray is they want to see what he looks like. Watch.
I would say the last part of what you discussed, Judy, to me is for this staff in the evaluation process of like, where do we go from here? Is Kyler Murray our starting quarterback for the next 10 years, or is he someone maybe we could use as a trade option if they, there's obviously a possibility they have a top 5 draft pick in this coming draft. What do they do with it, right? So seeing Kyler on the field, in their offense, in their scheme, working with the coaches, in games, this is all important. There is an evaluation process here. So I do believe that Kyler Murray is going to play plenty.
It's such an interesting way of saying it. They want to see him play. Kyler Murray definitely depends on his athleticism and on his legs to make plays. And historically, as we've seen with Russell Wilson at the very least, when a dual threat quarterback stops becoming a dual threat quarterback, they become significantly less productive. It's not that bold of a take to suggest. We've seen it with Russell Wilson. We've seen it with RG3. We've seen it with Cam Newton, although Cam Newton had a shoulder injury to compound with that. And now when you tear your ACL, there's a question if you still were as mobile as you once were. I want to go out and state that when Kyler Murray is fully healthy, he's shown us why he was the #1 overall pick. And he lived up to the billing. He's one of the most prolific quarterbacks in the entire NFL. And in 2021, he was in the MVP conversation for a reason. But with that being said, there are questions that the Arizona Cardinals need to answer. One is whether or not, if they have the opportunity to select a quarterback at the top of the NFL draft, should they take the opportunity to do so? Should they take Caleb Williams if they get the #1 overall pick? Or, as a matter of fact, what if that's the reason why Kyler Murray is coming back? You see, Marquise Hollywood Brown says that Kyler Murray is coming back to make a point.
I mean, I think they all know, like, he's not coming back to just be average. He coming back to prove a point, and I think they'll realize it very quickly.
But in my opinion, I think it's a little bit more complex than that. I think Kyler Murray is a very talented quarterback in the NFL. But if you're Kyler Murray and you have to choose between sitting down, rehabilitating an ACL injury for another month, potentially being shut down for the rest of the year, because if the Cardinals get to a point of no return, you have no choice. You have to shut it down for the rest of the year. They're not going to let you come back when they've already lost 10 games at that point, which is the basis of my take originally. So if you're Kyler Murray, you have to choose between making sure you're fully able to heal and you're fully rehabilitated versus coming back and trying to make sure that your team doesn't even come close to being able to select Caleb Williams with the #1 overall pick. And to be honest, so far, the Cardinals with Josh Dobbs have looked really good, way better than their record suggests. They crushed the Dallas Cowboys, they almost beat the Washington Commanders, they almost beat the New York Giants, and the only teams that they really lost by a heavy amount was the San Francisco 49ers, I guess the Cincinnati Bengals, and the LA Rams. Their upcoming schedule is a mixed bag. There's some games here that are winnable, and there's some games that are very, very challenging. But at the very least, my personal theory is that Kyler Murray is returning to make sure that his team isn't even in position to select Caleb Williams. You also have to understand, if you are the Arizona Cardinals and you go from like the #1 overall pick to potentially the #3 overall pick, bear in mind they already have a top 15 pick from last year's trade with the Houston Texans as well. You're going from a situation where you're considering taking a new quarterback because at the very top of the draft, which is more tempting than you'd think, considering the fact that with Caleb Williams also comes a fresh rookie scale contract, which allows you to focus on other areas of your team and spend elsewhere, which would speed up your rebuild considerably, assuming that Caleb Williams is a franchise altering talent at #1 like everyone is saying he is, to selecting Ulu Fashanu from Penn State, which is an offensive tackle, which is something that the Arizona Cardinals desperately need, or Marvin Harrison Jr., which at the very minimum would be a lot of fun to watch paired with Kyler Murray. So any amount of wins, making sure you're not the worst team team in the NFL would significantly alter Kyler Murray's career. And I think that's definitely weighing on his mind a little bit. Either way, I'm happy that Kyler Murray is back. I hope he's fully recovered from his injury and he's not pushing it too much. But regardless, having Kyler Murray back with an offense that has not looked terrible with Josh Dobbs under center should be a huge improvement for the Arizona Cardinals, and at the very least guarantee that Kyler Murray will be under center for the future. Let me know in the comment section down below, especially if you're a Cardinals fan. What do you think about this? Do you think Kyler Murray is making a mistake rushing back from his injury? Do you think this is the difference between you guys making it to the playoffs and missing the playoffs? Do you think this is the difference between potentially getting a top 3 pick or top 5 pick in the NFL draft? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.